Location: Appalachians, West Virginia. Time: 4:17 a.m. The forest was asleep. Not even the wind whispered through the branches. Jack Rayner, a lone hunter who lived in a cabin in the mountains, sat in ambush with his rifle, watching for deer tracks. He had been there since nightfall, waiting for movement. Jack loved solitude. His dog Rex, a German shepherd, breathed quietly beside him, picking up scents invisible to the human nose. But today something was wrong. Rex whined quietly, cautiously. "What's wrong, boy?" Jack whispered, putting his finger on the trigger. Suddenly, the crack of branches. But not light, like a deer's footsteps. It was something heavy, uneven, dragging its feet. And the smell. Rot. Jack leaned against a tree, his rifle pointed forward. And then he saw him. A figure, a man who could barely stand. His arms were down. His head was bowed. His face was pale, gray, with spots of blood. His eyes were empty. "Hey!" Jack shouted. The figure did not stop. When it approached, Jack recognized him. It was Jim, an old gamekeeper with whom he sometimes traded in town. But Jim's face was no longer human. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Jack said and took a step back. Rex growled. Jim suddenly lunged forward, breathing like a beast, with incredible speed. The sound of a gunshot broke the silence of the forest. Jim fell. But in a moment, he started moving again. Jack didn't wait. Another shot. And another. Only after the third did Jim finally freeze. "He's not human," Jack whispered. "Something's happened." He patted Rex and headed back to his cabin. Only one thought was spinning in his head. "I need to get to the radio station and find out what's happening in the valley." Jack rushed into his cabin, closed the wooden door, and slid the bolt. Rex paced around, growling and repeatedly rushing to the window. The dog was nervous, and that meant trouble was near. The old radio, a gift from his late grandfather, stood on a shelf next to his hunting gear. Jack sat down, turned it on, and began tuning the dial. Crackling. Static. Background hum. Suddenly, fragments of a voice. "Danger. Spreading throughout the territory. Stay at home. Avoid contact." Jack squeezed the tuning knob, trying to catch something intelligible. Finally, a clear voice with an accent, the voice of a military man. "I repeat, numerous cases of aggressive behavior have been reported in the Greenbrier, Monroe, and Summers counties. If you suspect infection, shoot them in the head. I repeat, in the head. Military units have been mobilized. If you are in mountainous areas, isolate yourselves. This broadcast is coming from Charleston Base. This may not be a local event." Jack leaned back in his chair. A terrible silence hung in the air. His grandfather always said, "If there's panic on the air, it means things are much worse than they say." He checked his rifle. It was loaded. He put the remaining cartridges in his backpack. Next to him were a flask, dry rations, and a machete. Survival was not a hobby for him. It was a way of life. Suddenly, Rex growled again. Jack went to the window. Two figures appeared among the trees in the dawn mist. They were dragging their feet and staggering. They weren't animals. They were people. But they had the same empty eyes, the same lacerations on their skin, the same bloody hands. "Now I know this isn't a nightmare," Jack whispered. He unlatched the door and whistled to Rex. "Let's go, boy. We need to get out of here. Now." The first ones to leave are the ones who survive. The fog enveloped the forest like a blanket. The sun had not yet risen. Only the first rays were breaking through the treetops, casting faint shadows. Jack moved quickly along the old hunting trail that his grandfather used to walk. It led uphill to the observation tower near Black Rock, a place where you could get cell phone reception and see everything around you. Rex ran alongside, stopping every few meters to listen. The dog was clearly sensing something. Behind them, down below, a strange monotonous moaning came from the forest. It followed them, but still seemed far away. "We need to get to the tower. We can see the road from there. If we're lucky, I'll see if there's any movement in the valley," Jack muttered, wiping the sweat from his forehead. He had survived in the wild many times. Storms, Snowfalls, bears, even a bandit attack. But zombies? No. No one had taught him that. Jack reached the tower. The old wooden stairs creaked as he climbed up. From the height, a panorama opened up. The valley below was shrouded in morning fog, but something was still visible. The road leading to the town of Lewisburg was jammed with cars. Some were on fire. Smoke rose above the park. And worst of all, dozens, maybe hundreds of figures were wandering along the road. People who were no longer people. Jack took a deep breath and took out his old binoculars. In his field of vision was a moving truck. It was zigzagging as if it were fleeing. And behind it was a crowd. Zombies. A real crowd. This is the real end of the world, he whispered. Behind him, he heard the crackling of branches. Jack turned abruptly. There were already 3 of them standing below the tower. 3 dead people. One of them was dressed as a forester. He loaded his shotgun. Well, as we say in the mountains, if a wolf knocks on your door, it's better to meet it with a shotgun. 3 zombies slowly approached the foot of the wooden tower. One of them, dressed in a forest ranger's uniform, had a forest radio transmitter on his shoulder. Jack noticed it immediately. If that thing still works, this could be my chance, he whispered. The zombies were not in a hurry, but their steps were insistent, stubborn. The real horror was not in their speed, but in their inevitability. They always moved forward. Jack took aim. He fired. The forester fell first, cleanly, in the head. The second zombie rushed to the stairs. Jack descended a few steps, fired again. The zombie fell, but slowly moved its hands. The third almost touched Rex. The dog dodged, growling, and Jack finished it off with a bullet to the back of the head. Silence returned. Only the wind swayed the top of the tower slightly. Jack carefully climbed down, took the radio transmitter from the dead forester. He pressed the button. This is Ranger Jack Rayner. Is anyone alive? Over. Hissing. Silence. I'm armed. I'm at Black Rock. I have a radio. I have supplies. I can hear more and more zombies. If anyone is alive, answer me. Pause. Then a voice. Black Rock? I hear you. This is Ranger Blake from the North Sector. You're the first person we've heard alive in 2 hours. Are you alone? Yes. I have a dog. I have a hunting rifle and food. The situation in the valley is bad. I saw a crowd on Highway 219. That confirms our data. A drone has already been sent there. If you can, stay where you are or head north to the Greytown hunting base. We are setting up a temporary evacuation point there. Jack looked at the horizon. It was about 20 miles to Greytown Viaduct mountain trails. It wasn't easy, but it was possible. Okay, I'm heading there. If I survive, I'll be in touch in 4 to 5 hours. Over and out. He stuffed the transmitter into his backpack, checked his ammunition again, and whistled to Rex. Time to go, buddy. This is just the beginning. The sun finally rose. But instead of hope, its rays only emphasized the ruin. Jack walked along a narrow path that had once served as a hunting trail. Rex walked ahead, sniffing the air, his tail low. Everything around him was silent. Even the birds weren't singing. On the horizon, he could see the village of Andrews Creek, where several families lived. Jack decided to walk past it, but he couldn't contain his curiosity. There could be food there. People. Or something worse. They approached cautiously. The village looked dead. Empty windows, doors swinging on their hinges. A single car crashed into a tree. Next to it, bodies. Jack raised his binoculars. Movement. Someone was crawling in the yard of the old pharmacy. A person, alive. Wounded. A woman. Jack immediately ran over, holding his rifle at the ready. Rex barked, but not aggressively. Hey, are you alive? Are you infected? He asked, crouching down next to the woman. She barely lifted her head, her face covered in blood. I survived. They were everywhere. Her voice trembled. What's your name? Jack carefully examined her stitched leg. Casey. Casey Blair, nurse. I hid in the basement, thinking. She fell unconscious. Jack knew that leaving her here meant killing her, but carrying a person 20 miles across the mountains was risky. Still, she might be useful. Okay, Casey, you're lucky I'm not the type to give up. If we survive, you won't owe me anything. He made a stretcher out of rope and branches, laid her on it, and covered her with an old sleeping bag. Rex walked silently ahead, as if he understood that now there were 3 of them. The roar of an engine came from behind the trees. Jack stopped and pressed himself against the slope. An old buggy sped across the clearing and stopped. An armed man in camouflage climbed out. "Hey," he shouted. "Are you alive? Are you infected?" Jack raised his hands. "No, we're clean. She's wounded. I'm a hunter. From Black Rock. Then hop in. We're going to Greytown. They're gathering people there. But time is short. They're going to burn the bridge in 3 hours to stop the zombie horde." Jack didn't hesitate. A few minutes later, Casey was lying in the buggy, Rex was sitting next to her, and Jack was holding his rifle at the ready. "Just don't stop," Jack said. "If anything comes out, I'll shoot." And they drove off, through the ashes, through the silence, through the first day of the end of the world. The buggy flew out of the forest into an open clearing. Before them was an old wooden hunting lodge, once a hunting club, now an outpost amid the chaos. Around it were homemade fortifications made of logs, several barricades of sand and cars. Armed men were on the roof. Rope traps, wire, and smokehouses were on the side. One of the guards waved his hand. "Friends, let them in." Jack and Rex jumped down first. Casey was carried to a primitive medical station, where it turned out there was already a medic from the National Guard, an older woman with a steely gaze. "I need morphine and bandages. Her condition is unstable, but she'll survive," she said, immediately getting to work. Jack approached the fire where the others were sitting, hunters, a farmer, a couple of teenagers with guns, and a young soldier, exhausted but alert. "They're coming from the south," said the soldier. "We have a maximum of 2 hours before they reach the bridge. After that, only the mountains will save us." "So, what's the plan?" Jack asked. "Blow up the bridge. We've got C4. But we need someone to lead the group to the bridge from the other side to cut off the zombies and stop them from getting around us. It's suicide. There aren't enough volunteers." Jack silently checked his shotgun. Rex sat down next to him, baring his teeth as if he already knew what Jack was going to say. "I'll go. I know those trails better than any of you. I'll lead you to the bridge. But I need 1 fighter and a map. And for Casey to survive." The soldier nodded. "It's a deal. I'll go with you. I'm Will. I'm young, but I shoot fast." Jack shook his hand. "Then let's go, Will. Time is against us. If the bridge remains, this fort won't last until nightfall." Silence hung over the campfire. Jack, Will, and Rex made their way along a narrow path through the thicket. Behind them lay Greytown, with its smoke, its bonfire, and Casey fighting for her life. Ahead lay the bridge that would decide the fate of everyone still breathing in these mountains. "There used to be a refugee camp here during the 2008 flood," Jack said, remembering the area. "Now it's a camp of the dead." "How many do you think there will be?" Will asked, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "If Route 219 was full, as I saw from the tower, hundreds. Maybe more." Rex suddenly stopped, stood at attention, and growled. In the distance, behind the trees, there was a crackling sound and a muffled groan. Jack put his finger to his lips, leaned over, and pointed. 5. Maybe more. They spread out on the flanks. Will took aim with his M4, Jack with his hunting rifle. When the first zombie emerged from the forest, a former teenager in a torn hoodie, Jack shot him right in the head. A short battle. Clean shots. No screams. No unnecessary movements. "Good shot, Will," Jack said, looking over the bodies. "You're not nervous like most rookies. I've already seen my platoon die. Nothing scares me after that." They reached the bridge in 15 minutes. The iron arch over the Elk River shook in the wind. In the middle was a barrel of C4. One of the surviving sappers had left it there during the night. But in front of them was a crowd. Far away, on the highway, a mass of bodies moved slowly but stubbornly. A hum. Moans. Endless death pushing forward. We have half an hour. And we can't blow up the bridge until they're on it. That's the worst part, Will whispered. Jack looked down at the fast-flowing river. Maybe we can lure them. He sat down on the ground and took out his hunting horn, the one he used to lure deer. He thought for a moment. Then he blew into it, and the sound rolled through the trees, low and drawn out. The zombies began to respond. One by one, they changed direction. They were heading for the bridge. The bait had worked. Now we just wait and pray that the fuse doesn't misfire. Rex sat down next to him, glancing back and forth between the bridge and Jack. The bridge creaked under the weight of death. The wooden deck groaned as dozens, then hundreds of zombies rushed toward it, attracted by the sound of the hunting horn. They didn't run or scream. They just walked slowly and stubbornly forward, forming a stream of dead flesh. Jack lay in the bushes by the road, aiming through his scope at a barrel of C4. Will was a little behind him, on a hill, with a handheld radio detonator in his hands. Rex crouched nearby, breathing quietly like a trained hunting puppy. Now or never, Will whispered. Don't rush. Wait until there are so many of them that the bridge creaks under the strain. We need to be sure that this wave doesn't reach Grey Tone. Seconds passed. The zombies pushed further and further forward. The bridge was almost completely filled. Some fell, trampled by others. One zombie, a soldier in body armor, was recognizable even in this state. A mixture of horror and rage squeezed his chest. Now, Jack commanded. Will, go ahead. Click. Flash. Explosion. Boom. A pillar of fire tore the bridge in half. Burning bodies flew down into the river along with pieces of metal. The explosion even knocked back a few zombies that hadn't yet reached the middle. The wave finished them off. Rex whimpered, but Jack calmed him down. Will lowered the fuse, sat down on the ground, shaking all over. But he was smiling. We did it, he exhaled. We destroyed the main crossing. Now Grey Tone is a fort, not a trap, Jack replied. But their joy was short-lived. Behind the hill, there was a new sound. The roar of an engine. An old, battered bus with black smoke coming out of its exhaust pipe rolled out of the forest. On it were white sheets, like a flag. People. They're refugees, Will whispered. The bus stopped near the ravine. The driver got out and shouted. Help. There are more than 20 of us. We didn't know the bridge was destroyed. We have wounded people. There are children. Jack bit his lip. There was another crossing on the map, a footbridge further north, narrow, old, but passable. We have an option. If we can get them through the forest, they'll survive. But we have to act fast. Because tonight, the zombies will find new paths. He looked at Will. The soldier just nodded. Are you in, Hunter? Jack stood up, adjusted his rifle strap, and replied. I started this day with a dog and a rifle. I'll end it with an army and a bus. Let's go. More than 20 souls, women, children, old people, wounded people. They all followed Jack along the narrow path. Will brought up the rear, keeping watch, while Rex led the way again, like a faithful guide. They had to abandon the bus. The driver, a burly man named Danny, helped carry the wounded boy. Where are we going? Asked one of the women with a child in her arms. To the old bridge over Blackwater Creek. If it's still standing, we'll be safe, Jack replied. But he wasn't sure. The bridge hadn't been inspected in years. And now it was unclear whether they would make it in time. The explosion of the bridge had attracted the attention of more than just the refugees. The silence of the forest was deceptive. 11:39 a.m. Rex stopped again and growled. Jack took out his binoculars. Something metallic was glinting between the trees. Hide, he shouted, crouching down. People fell into the bushes. There was a rumbling in the forest. An old National Guard jeep rolled out from behind the hill, slow, crooked, with broken glass. But behind the wheel, a dead man, a zombie soldier, and two more in the passenger compartment. The jeep slowly rolled downhill, straight toward them. Vil, Jack shouted. I see it. A burst of automatic fire. The Jeep's windows shattered. One zombie fell to the ground, another froze in his seat. The third broke free and ran, but Jack fired his rifle, hitting him squarely in the chest. The zombie fell. Quick, let's move, he commanded. The bridge finally appeared. Old, wooden, swaying on ropes, but still holding. 3 at a time. Slowly, Jack commanded. One by one, the refugees began to cross. Children first. The wounded on makeshift stretchers. We'll help them down. Rex growled. Something was approaching from the south. Knocking. Broken branches. Zombies. They're coming. Will shouted. Rex and I will cover you. Lead the people, Jack ordered. He remained on the opposite bank, firing back. When the last woman crossed, Jack retreated, and Rex ran ahead. The planks creaked but held. And when the last shot rang out, when the last survivor stepped ashore, they set fire to the masonry. The flames rose into the sky. The path was closed. The people were saved. For that day, smoke from the burned bridge still rose, swirling in the wind between the trees. But the danger, at least for now, was behind them. The people, frightened, exhausted, but alive, sat on the ground under the thick pine trees, trying to comprehend what they had survived. Jack leaned against a tree trunk, holding his rifle on his lap. Rex lay next to him, breathing calmly. We'll return from reconnaissance. It's clear. No signs of zombies, no new threats. We can go back. To base? Jack asked. Yes. We've cut off the main flow. And if you want my opinion, the base needs more than just fighters. It needs people who know how to survive, and who know how to lead others. Jack stood up. He looked at the women and children, who were starting to talk again. One boy was hugging Rex around the neck. We can't leave them here. And we can't just move on. If anyone has a chance of holding Great Own, it's us. He approached Danny, the bus driver. Can you gather the people? Are you ready to walk a few more miles? If there's somewhere to go, we're ready. Good. We're going back. To the base. On foot, via a safe route. Through the hills, past the old farm. If all goes well, we'll be there by evening. The group set off again, this time with confidence. Jack and Will led the way. The people walked in silence, but no longer in despair. There was something new in their eyes, faith. They came out into an open area where Great Own was visible. The city was in ruins, but the base was surrounded by barricades. Smoke rose from the chimneys. Lights were on. Figures with machine guns appeared at the gates, soldiers who had not fled. Halt. Who are you? Someone with a machine gun shouted. Will stepped forward and raised his hands. Sergeant William Hayes. We're with the hunter who saved these people. Do you copy? A short pause. Then a click. The gate opened. They entered the base. People were crying and hugging each other. The base commander came out to greet Jack. Are you the hunter? No. Not only that. Now I'm a guide. He looked around at the fortifications, at the people who, despite their fatigue, believed in life again. It won't be easy here, but we'll hold on. Rex sat down next to him and barked loudly and confidently. And Jack smiled for the first time all day.